Founder, what is your brand story? Does it have the power to engage the mind, body, and soul? Does it inspire us to want to learn more, join the conversation, be part of the movement? Does it compel us to buy a product, retain a service, or join the business? Our guest is going to show you how to increase brand awareness with a compelling brand story. Stay tuned for the Startup Life Live Show. Let's glow, okay? Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Startup Life Live Show. I'm your host, Ande Lyons, 4 times founder and startup champion for first-time founders from around the world. And after raising 4 businesses of my own, I now share other founders' startup stories to help newly minted business owners find the solutions and inspiration they need to keep going and succeed. So thank you for carving out time to tune in and up your founder game while cheering on a fellow founder. For those of you watching now or via the replay, I would be so grateful for your support of the show, and helps us reach more founders, more first-time founders. Wherever you are, if you click that like button, because we're live right now on LinkedIn and Facebook and Periscope and YouTube and Twitch. And your like really helps the show reach more first-time founders. And those of you who are watching via YouTube, it'd be wonderful if you could subscribe if you're not already, and hit that icon bell so that you're alerted whenever I upload or post a new show. We are going to go deep into brand story today, and I'm really excited to introduce you to a local goddess, a local founder who has her business, and it is Denise Kaigler. And Denise is an award-winning communications, marketing, and brand strategist, and the founder and principal of MDK Brand Management, where she and her team craft compelling stories that help define, build, or restore a brand. And Denise has nearly 25 years of corporate experience at multi-billion-dollar brands. And she's also the author of $40 and a Brand: How to Overcome Challenges, Defy the Odds, and Live Your Awesomeness. Denise, and you'll hear all about this, has received numerous awards and recognitions, including twice being named the most influential Black woman in corporate America by Savoy magazine. Let's get out the clappers and give Denise a huge round of applause. Welcome to the show, Denise. Woohoo!
Hey, Andy, thanks for having me. Boy, how can you not be all excited with all of that? That is so cool. That's so cool.
Well, you have some great lived experience that we're going to hear from today. And, we're not live and in person. So when I started doing the live show around April 1st, during 2020, I had to get the clappers because, we've got to give the round of applause to ourselves, to guests, to whoever's watching, and encourage everyone to continue with their journey. And I'm so excited to hear more about how you became a founder, because you started off working in corporate America. How did you jump into that sweet spot, and why, what was it about branding that you said, I want to go this route as a career first?
Mm-hmm. Well, great to be here. Thanks again for having me. I started my career, interestingly enough, as a television reporter. I majored in broadcast journalism at Emerson College in Boston. And it's interesting. I didn't have the passion for it. I either didn't have the passion for it because I wasn't very good at it, or maybe because I wasn't very good at it, I didn't have the passion for it. Who knows? But I didn't stay in it long, and I did make the shift to the other side, and started in nonprofit, and then was discovered, if you will, recruited by an executive at Reebok, and that was my first job in corporate America, was an entry-level role at Reebok. But it's interesting you mentioned, how did I make that shift? Because I spent almost 25 years in corporate, holding senior level roles, including a C-suite role. Senior VP, C-suite, VP, And I climbed from entry level to the C-suite over a course of around 25 years. But to answer your question, it's interesting. There is usually a defining moment. There's usually something in our lives, in our careers, that put us on the path we're on now. This might, maybe you'd be able to relate to this. Do you remember the mass conference for women?
Yes.
Huge conference.
Right.
Yeah, like 10,000 women.
Yeah, John Hancock, Raytheon, State Street Bank, Bank of America.
All there in mass. All
yes.
Employees in mass. 10,000. They got to 10,000 people before.
Yeah.
Before, of course, the pandemic changed it. But in any event, I was a speaker in Boston Scientific. I was employed at the time at Boston Scientific. This one particular moment that shifted my career to where I am right now. I was at the mass conference for women, and there was a speaker, and this was in 2014. And I'm walking through the hall in the main room where the main speaker is. And I heard the speaker say, women, all you women out there, make sure you have your next chapter planned, because you never know when the world changes. You never know when the rug is going to be pulled out from under you. Don't be caught off guard. No matter where you are in your career, things can change like that. No matter where you are in your life, things can change like that. And I remember thinking, Ande, I don't have my next chapter planned.
You're not ready for when your cheese moves.
I'm not ready. I'm not. If that day or that next day the rug had been pulled off from under me, I would be like, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do. I literally took those words and I thought, I need to have my next chapter planned, because I had a young family and I was needed. My income, my job, my work was needed. Yeah. And so I went back to the office, and I literally, from that moment on, I thought, I've got to put a plan in place. You asked, how did I pick branding? That goes back to my childhood, my young adulthood, my why, which we'll talk about later, the importance of discovering your why, connecting your what to your why. It's fascinating. I do a lot of that work with my clients, and I love it. And we'll talk about that in a second. But at the time, my work was not connected to my why. I had been discovered, if you will, at Reebok and gone on to Nintendo and Adidas and Boston Scientific, and my career was on fire. But it wasn't connected to my what. I was loving it, no question. I was traveling, meeting all kinds of people, and making an impact. But it still wasn't connected to what was deep inside of me.
Sure.
What that was branding. And that's because I grew up, my childhood, I was an incredibly shy introvert. So shy in school. This is elementary, middle school, that when a teacher would call on me in class to answer a question, I would be scared to my core to speak in front of anyone other than my mother and my two sisters. And so tears would literally well up in my eyes and start streaming down my face in the middle of all these kids.
Anybody else relate who's listening, watching later? Oh my gosh.
Who
the pressure.
The pressure, and kids can be mean. And so I became the target of bullies, because now they got a target who was weak and would cry in class.
Yeah.
And so I had a challenge there. And so fast forward, I knew that I could not go through life crying whenever anyone said, Denise, say something, not advocating for myself, not having a level of self-confidence that could get me through my life. And so it took some time, it took some work, and we'll talk about some of my.
But it's interesting, Denise, that you went into TV journalism at Emerson.
It was warped, right? It was warped, and it was intentional, because and I know you understand this, and so many people, listeners, can understand that sometimes you need that kick, that push, to get you to do something that you should be doing. And so I, in a very warped way, I said, okay, what is going to get me out of my own way? Because that is oftentimes what happens to us. We get in our own way. We put down the obstacles that lie in our path to greatness. We sometimes put those mines on that path. I was doing that. And so for me, and this, people deal with their own strategy. They have their own strategies. They deal with it various ways, although I have some strategies that I work on with my clients. But my strategy, my solution was to force myself to get over that shyness, get over being an introvert. And yeah, being a television reporter was my war
Put
point.
you on the edge. I know.
But I did it, and I still have my moments. I don't those folks who are listening now, if you're a shy introvert, you don't ever really get over that. You develop strategies to deal
Right.
with it.
And to manage it and to know
Yeah,
that after a certain period of time, you need to go do your self-care, which is to
absolutely.
get quiet someplace
Yep.
and do all that. But you're right. We tend to sabotage ourselves, especially if we're getting so much validation outside of ourselves
Yeah.
for the success. So you were in this career path where people are like, oh my God, she's amazing. I want her. No, I want her. No, we want her over here. And so you were like, okay, I'm really good. But sometimes, and folks, you know what this means. We can do everything, but do we need to be doing everything? We can be really good at a lot of things, but does it make you happy? And yes, it was making you happy. And I would really love for you to share your Boston Scientific story. Can we talk about that just a little right now?
So when I made that leap from
And you really helped their brand.
yeah,
You
so
saved.
Boston Scientific, so corporate branding and brand management was within my area of responsibilities, and I had a big job. I was senior vice president of corporate affairs and communications at Boston Scientific. So a lot of responsibilities were under that umbrella. I did work in my team spearheaded the rebranding of Boston Scientific. They had a brand that was old and not modern because it had been created many years before. And what I said to the CEO, and we were talking about Boston Scientific, and the industry and the world was shifting, and we all know this. I have parents, aging parents, and my mother was a typical consumer aging parent where she would start diagnosing herself. If she had a pain in something, if you would go and start Googling, and then she go to her doctor.
WebMD.
Right, exactly. WebMD. And then you go to your doctor and say, hey, this is what I'm feeling. This is what I read you should be doing. Here, take a look and do it. And so I remember saying to the CEO, Boston Scientific, and he got it. It wasn't my telling him something he didn't know. But what was interesting is it's a B2B company, and there are obviously a lot of B2Bs. And I'm coming in as heading up communications. And the one thing we talked about doing was taking a page out of a marketing book, not out of a B2B book, because so many consumers were stepping into that area of advocating for themselves. And so we had to start communicating not just to doctors and others within our industry, but how do we shift and expand the communication to be relatable or relevant and resonant
To the end user. Yeah. And tell everybody what Boston Scientific provides.
So Boston Scientific is a medical device company. So
been around forever, right?
It's been around for a very long time, but a medical device giant, multi billions and billions of dollars. And so I went in with no healthcare experience whatsoever, no med device experience whatsoever, but I knew communications and I knew marketing, and they knew that they were at a place where they had to start developing communications that people, the end customer, the patient could understand. And that was what I bought in. So when it came down to creating that new modern Boston Scientific brand, that was the strategy that I took, is create a brand that the everyday consumer, the patient, can relate to.
Right.
And so I wrote their current tagline. We redid the mission statement, the vision, wrote key messages. It was just an amazing experience.
Well, and that's where, you really get to see, wow, crafting that story. It doesn't matter if you've been around for almost 100 years and you're well known and you're traded publicly, perhaps. I can't remember, but it doesn't matter. If you're not telling and crafting and redoing that, your brand story for your new customers. Maybe you had a great brand story from, 3 or 4 decades ago, but you got up your game, and right.
And it's a good point, Andy, because branding is ongoing. It's not done one and done, or one and done. It's not that. It's an evolution. You evolve your brand, and if you're a careerist, especially for those who are ambitious and they want to make sure that they are developing a brand that is on track to help support their career, the key is to make sure that you understand what phase of your career are you in. Are you a college grad or just starting out? Your brand, it needs to be projected a certain
Right.
way at that stage. Then as you evolve to mid-careers or early careers, so now you're at the beginning, you're a college student, you're just entering your career. Now you evolve into the next stage, early to mid-careers. Your brand is going to evolve to project certain elements. And then of course, as you build your career even farther along,
That's right.
your upper level, you're just at that point of wanting to break through, then your brand should project a certain
Right.
level of
And
qualities.
And I know, Melinda, I know you popped in a little while ago about connecting your work with your why. I bet you also resonate with this because you've reinvented yourself, Melinda, a few times. And so you know what it's like to leave from that corporate environment and see how you can better serve the world through your brilliance. And Melinda lives up the road in Maine. So, but she's a fave in the startup community here in Boston. And hi, Ted. He's been a journalist since the 1970s. Now he works on independent films and produces them. And he's an amazing, amazing human and from Arizona. And then the goddess from Colorado who's digging out from all that snow.
Oh,
So
man.
true. Just because you
Oh,
can
man.
we're just freezing our butts off here in Boston. We're not digging out of the snow anymore. But thank you for that wonderful comment, Mia. Yeah, it's so true because you can do it doesn't mean you have to do it all. And yay, Melinda, I thought you might resonate with that. You know, it's so important when Denise just said, everyone, is that when we transition, because a lot of times when you're a first-time founder, you're making that transition from being an employee to an employer. And there's a lot of work, and I'm sure Denise can really help you with this too, is that rebranding of yourself, especially with your online presence, because you've been communicating and sharing different things in your life. But when you become a founder, things change. So thank you for sharing that bit of your background with us, Denise, because it's so important to understand sort of that journey of where you were and how all of those pieces of your lived experience throughout your career have helped you create incredible services and packages serving different needs in different pockets within the MDK brand that you provide. So let's talk about that. Let's go back to the women's conference when you're like, oh my gosh,
I did not have
it's the old, who moved my cheese story. Everybody may have read that book. It's like, you've always got to be, as she said, though, which was so delicious, so feminine, rewriting your brand, your next chapter. Because we tend to think that way as women. So you went back home, you had that in your head. Where did you start? How did you start thinking about what did you want to do next? Instead of saying, oh no, I'm going to put my head in the sand like an ostrich and I'm good.
In hope that the rug doesn't get pulled out from under me. Exactly. And that was not an option. And so I went back to my why, and I thought, okay, I want to feel passionate. I want to be fulfilled. There is research that shows that people who connect their why to their what are more fulfilled. They find more meaningfulness in their careers. And I went back to my roots, and I knew that part of what really gets in our way is our confidence or lack thereof. And I didn't have confidence for the longest time, and that went back to my childhood. So I thought, okay, I want to help people who are a lot like me. And I was meeting a lot of people. I was traveling around the world, Asia, Europe, throughout the US. I mean, I was on an airplane more times than I care to, remember. But because of that, I was meeting so many people who would come up to me. I was speaking a lot, had a lot of speaking engagement, but I was meeting a lot of people who were like me, and not just people who were like me, but also organizations, nonprofits, small businesses who were struggling to overcome whatever challenges they were facing. And so the first thing I did after I processed those powerful words from the women's conference, I went to a couple of contacts and I said, including Boston Scientific, where I was the SVP, and I said, I want to start doing personal branding workshops. I want to create a platform where employees can come. I want to, get a piece of paper and start mapping out what that would look like. But I would like your support. Boston Scientific. I went to them first and they were like, this is great. Yes,
Oh,
yes, yes.
good.
So I created a curriculum for personal branding workshops. I tapped into one of the ERGs, employee resource groups at Boston Scientific, and I started hosting personal branding workshops during my lunch breaks or after work.
And so like a brown bag lunch, come on and learn this. So, and did you pull
how to build.
And did you pull from other businesses or just Boston Scientific?
Okay, it's a good question. So I started with Boston Scientific, but then to your question, I did go out and went to my Rolodex and I said, okay, let me branch out, because I was thinking, what company? Because then I thought, okay, I want to, after I did the Boston Scientific, I was like, oh my gosh, this is my passion. This is really what I want to do. Now I'm really connecting my what to my why. And I'm thinking a business. I want to start a company, but so oftentimes, and I know you know this, and some of your viewers know this, so oftentimes when we think about starting a company, we're listening too much to the story we're telling ourselves inside of our heads, that there really is a problem. And oh, by the way, I'm the solution. I didn't want to jump off and start a company if I couldn't for a fact know that there was a problem that needed solving and that I could be a solution. Maybe not the solution, but that could be a solution.
And so that people would want to pay for.
That people would want to pay for eventually, because I did start off for free. I did do a big nonprofit workshop for free when I first started. But I did reach out to a couple organizations. The United Way was one. United Way and NAACP. Yeah. I reached out to NAACP and I said, I want to volunteer my services and host personal branding workshops within the community of Roxbury. And they were thrilled, and they connected me with their young professionals group. I think that's it.
I think that's it.
And I started doing free workshops on Saturday afternoons at their building in Roxbury, where mostly young women, but some young men would come. And I dragged my kids along with me to help me to do set up and everything. And they did, because they were thrilled.
Excellent. They got to learn and see all of that. Great exposure.
And I thought, you know what? And it was when I was doing the United Way workshop, I walked out. It was very well received. And it was about rebranding the United Way. Now it's organizational rebranding. I remember walking out, and this was a turning point for me. I was still gainfully employed at Boston Scientific. And what the young lady who wanted me to come in and do the workshop, she ran out to me at the elevator. She goes, Denise, she goes, that was fantastic. You should do this for a living. And I said, do what? Like, it never occurred to me at that moment, because I hadn't quite leaned into finding out whether I can make this a business. And she goes, what you just did, you could actually make a business out of this. And I thought, you know what? Yeah, I am. And that was it.
Oh my gosh. You got a message at the women's conference from a woman. And then you're like, okay, well, I like doing this and I like moving this along. This is great. And I'm going to volunteer.
And guess what? The rug was pulled out from under me a year later. But the good news is, because I had heeded that warning, because I had volunteered my services, because I had now built up the confidence, and I've seen I've met with a couple of CEOs as well, who are very close friends. And I presented my business plan to these executives, and they said to me, you got something going here. It wasn't just the story I'm telling myself inside my head. I actually presented my plan to a couple of really great CEO connections. Yeah. They affirmed that you're onto something here.
Absolutely. And then you coupled it with what happens in the tech industry all the time, which is you did your beta.
I did my beta, because that's so critical too. You got to try it out first. And see, I tweaked along the way. People would give me feedback based on doing the workshops, and I would tweak it in my plan. And I reached out. I got an attorney, I got an accountant, all the things. I filled out the paperwork, got my LLC.
That's your dream team, everybody. Did you hear that? I got my attorney, I got my accountant. Come on, that is the dream team, folks.
Absolutely. I did all of that. I came up with the name, got the name trademarked.
Yeah.
MDK Brand Management, got a business. I did all of that. Filed it, blah, 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 all those things. I was 60 or 70% through the process when my job at Boston Scientific was eliminated in a reorganization within the company.
Oh my gosh.
And
Oh my gosh.
and so it's interesting. I remember when you hear those words, and it's kind of like wow, wow, wow when they tell you job's been eliminated. But all I could think about was, great, I have time to do the last 30% of the company going, which those of you who've started businesses, you know that sometimes it's it's full-time. It's a
Yes.
full-time process to start a company. And I was working full-time, was traveling like crazy. So I couldn't do those last few,
Sure. The
in the
side hustle needed to shift into the full-time gig. And there's plenty, and I always say it, folks, what compelled you or what life event happened to have
Mhm.
you focus on becoming
That was
and
it.
being called to becoming an entrepreneur? Because this is a very rocky road. I love that as a side hustle, you practiced your ability to do workshops, got the feedback, tweaked, saw what worked, what didn't, pulled it together. Then you got your business plan, pulled all those parts and pieces together, and got people to say, you're not making this up. This is not a fantasy. This has legs. And
Right,
here's why.
right.
And then, boom. Of course, I see the rug got pulled out, but honestly, I'm sure they gave you a package. They didn't just say, see you, bye. So now you've got a little funding because, we got to fund our businesses, give them oxygen from whether, a severance package or unemployment. Massachusetts is well known for supporting future entrepreneurs through unemployment.
Well, I would tell you what was great is they became a client. Boston Scientific
Oh,
was my
even
first client
better.
because corporate branding and brand management was under my area of responsibility. So they knew that I was great at branding. And so they became my first, I launched my company. This was 2015. I founded my company. See, my job was eliminated in June of 2015. I
Okay.
finished everything in July of 2015. So I founded my company officially July of 2015, and then I launched it in October because I said I'm not going to go public and talk about it until I have at least 3 clients. Because everyone always says, and this, people
Oh,
say,
yeah.
well, who are your clients? I was like, ugh, who are your clients? Who are your clients? It's like this status thing. Well, who are your clients? And I knew that was going to be the question. So I said, I'm not going to tell anybody about
I'm just going to start making things happen. And then I'm going to have my testimonials.
exactly. And I did. So Boston Scientific right away, they said, we'll be one of your first clients. And they did. And it was awesome.
Oh my gosh. So because, getting that first client, I mean,
Mhm.
again, and we had Terry Pappy on a few months ago for helping solopreneurs. And the same thing happened to her when she left her major corporation. She was busy for 3 years with referrals. And she had never even had to talk about funnel because her funnel was always filled. But still, getting that first client, whether you've got a tech app, medical device, service, food product, getting them on board, even with connections, you still had to provide a proposal and say what? I mean, how did you get on board that client?
Right, right. I did have a business plan and worked with them, but it was good because they knew me, and that
Yeah.
was a great thing. I didn't have to prove anything because they knew who I
So
was.
you knew you were going to do brand management,
I knew,
and
yeah.
how else? But were you going to work with them more on the personal brand within your organization or on the company's brand?
So my focus, when I started my company, my focus was working with organizations to go in and help their top talent, the folks who they had identified as being potentials, high potentials within the organization,
Mm-hmm.
usually through the ERGs. So whether it was women or people of color, and I worked with those ERGs on this program that I created, and it was a 4-week program. And I still do this with some clients. I'll talk about that in a second. But I have various level programs that I offer, and they bought the 4-week program. So I will work with the same group of employees for 4 weeks. And there's a 4-week program. So there was week 1, you work on certain parts, week 2, and so I've done that a lot. Pre-pandemic, that was my world. I mean, to your point about
I'm just going to bring this up, everybody. Okay. I mean, Denise takes care of everybody. She takes care of your business. She takes care of you. She takes care of everybody.
Well, and let me put that, show me that.
Yeah.
So what's great, this is my people can relate to this. This was my post-pandemic, post-COVID programs. So e-coaching, I didn't have e-coaching programs pre-pandemic because to your point earlier about one of your colleagues, her Rolodex being full for 3. I had the same thing. I didn't need to do funnels and digital marketing or even online e-coaching programs. These programs, Millennial Launch Pad, Before the Break, and Mainstream the Top Tier, were created for the most part during the pandemic. Although Mainstream the Top Tier, my third one, was my first one that I created about a year ago. But Millennial Launch Pad and Before the Break were created during the pandemic.
Wow. So this audience are first-time founders, okay? Yeah. So when they are launching their business, they've got so much going on because it's coming up with a name, it's coming up with the website, what colors am I going to use? And, I'm a firm believer, you got to be thinking about the brand before you do all of that. You've got to be thinking about what's the promise I'm going to make, or this company is going to make to its customers. That brand promise is what will feed everything that we do. How do you work with first-time founders who are making that transition? Because it's the brand of their business, but it's also the voice in which they need to speak to the world. Yes?
Yes. And the first thing I say to clients who are also business owners is you are your company's brand. And you can't separate the two. So make sure that whatever mission, whatever vision, whatever values, whatever tagline, color scheme, all of that you create for your company, that they represent who you are as a person. You cannot separate those two. And your brand. So your brand is so powerful when it's connected. Both your personal brand and your business brand are so powerful when the two are aligned. And so making sure that you're aware of that, and making sure that you know what your brand is projecting. What are you projecting to people? When you walk into a room, what are people saying about you? And I ask that question a lot of folks when they ask me. Don't understand what branding is. So many people don't know. What is a brand? I do a lot of work where I did pre-pandemic, and after this is over, I'll go back, hopefully. But I was doing a lot of work with the correctional facilities around the state, Massachusetts. I would go into prisons and work with inmates. And it's the most rewarding work I do, to go into prisons and work with inmates whose brands have been so devastated because of whatever mistakes they made. And now they're
okay. I have to ask, do you know Robin Kasarjian from the Lionheart Foundation?
No.
Okay. Just thought I'd throw that out. We're in the same community, folks. Anyway, she works.
She works
with, for 30 years with inmates, helping them heal. But to get back to your point, that brand.
So brands, I had one of the inmates pulled his shirt down one day and he said, "Denise, is this what you mean by branding?" And a big tattoo across his chest. And I said, "Nope, that's not what I mean. That is body branding."
Let's clear this up, everybody, right now. Denise, let us know. Branding is not the tat you're wearing, nor is it marketing. It is not sales. It is not specifically a color. What is branding?
It's who you are. What do you want people to think about you, to say about you? How are you projecting yourself? When you walk into a room, do you know what people are saying about you? Because oftentimes what people are saying to your face, I shouldn't say often, sometimes what people are saying about you to your face isn't what they really believe about you, feel about you. Sometimes, not all the time, sometimes. It's what they're going to say when you walk out of that room that can be what they really feel about you, think about you. So what is it that you're projecting when you walk into a room? What impact are you making when you walk in? What impression are you leaving when you walk out? Right. That's your brand. So we have the power to influence those opinions, to influence those discussions, to influence what people are thinking about us. We don't often enough take control of influencing those opinions, and we can. Most people don't know what people are saying about them when they walk out of a room. And I'm like, why don't we know? So what I would say to entrepreneurs or first-time founders is find out what people are saying about you, because that is going to help you empower not only your brand and define your brand, or shift your brand to maybe being something that you really want people to say. So here's an example. If you are, I'm making this up, if you are, I don't know, someone who wants to be a CEO. Let's say you're in, or your audience is founders. So let's say you want to be the owner of I'm making this up, a perfume company.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah. Okay. Good. So let's say you want to be a top perfume company, and to be that top perfume company, you need to sort of have a certain thing, have a certain what's the word? A certain
Vibe.
vibe is a great word. A certain vibe, a certain elegance. There's got to be something that's just pouring out of your pores that's going to connect to your end consumer. How so? You do. I'm a huge believer in doing surveys.
Oh, yes.
Doing surveys. I do that with my clients because, as I said earlier, don't just believe the story you're telling yourself inside your head. With surveys, find out what people are saying about you. So let's say you want to be that perfume, major perfume company CEO, and you have to have these certain qualities. You send out so you decide, okay, I need to have this, I need to be this, I need to do this. But you send out the survey, and the survey results come back, and they say, oh, she's sloppy, she never has herself together, she looks lazy all the time, she looks like she just woke up out of bed. Now you got a gap. You have a gap between the brand you need to have and the brand you currently have. So now you have to make a conscious effort to close that gap. And those are.
Yeah. And I'm going to just use my own brand. My people online gave me this brand, Andelicious.
Delicious?
So Andelicious.
Andelicious. Okay.
And I was like, wow, I like that. That suits me. And of course, it's, in my case, it's really core business strategies framed within joy and enthusiasm and fun. And so, but it helps, folks. It helps you vibe with your tribe. And in my case, it helps people who are not going to be attracted to what I'm offering to just move right along, because they're going to shudder when they hear Andelicious. Like, who does she think she is? Then, and authors go through this a lot, or anybody who's putting out art are going to get the critics. And a lot of times we have to remember, they're not part of the survey that we gave out.
Well, and what's interesting about that is if you are, let's say, use the perfume person, example, and it's your company, you're going to have a hard time connecting with that potential customer if your brand is projecting the opposite of what your business brand needs to project to make money. So my brand, if I can say not a curse word, but
go right ahead.
My brand is something that someone told me many, many years ago when I was in corporate. Said, I just come back from doing a major Venus Williams event in New York, and it was a huge event. It aged me 20 years. And I came back, and someone from the sports marketing group yelled to me down the hall, Denise, do you know what your brand is? And I thought, brand, what? And he said, you get shit done.
Yes.
You get shit done. Ande, I have leaned into that brand ever since. Because it has helped me with my business. That's what I mean. That you can't disconnect the two. So people know, my clients know, people know that when I say I'm going to do something, I am going to get it done. It's who I am.
Period. End of story.
It's who I am.
Love it. GSD right here in the house, Denise.
That's so as a first-time entrepreneur, decide what is it that you want your brand to you want your brand to represent, and then lean into it, and then make sure your business is also projecting those same qualities in that same brand promise. And that's your brand promise. My brand promise is that I'm going to get it done. I'm going to get it done. So you have
period. End of story. Absolutely. I'm going to make sure you have a good time.
Yeah.
While you're implementing and executing, it's just so important to know this, folks, because then you and your team can be on the same page, right, Denise, with communication, words, vibrations. So it's one thing to be an essential oil perfume. You'll have a different flavor and a feel with that brand versus a Chanel No. 5. That is a different audience, and it could be the same person. It could be suiting that Chanel side of her versus her essential oil side of her. But you know what we're saying. And you see people who do this right all the time. Hey, thanks for the, I think that's LeMay, but I'm not sure. Thank you so much for that good vibe on Denise's comment. She is going to be your GSD person. So be sure to check that out. So then for first-time founders, as they start to embody this, you have an acronym called DRAMA. Does that tie into what founders need to do?
Yeah, it's all about storytelling. Absolutely. I did a web Zoom event a couple weeks ago, storytelling over cocktails. And it was the feedback was so tremendous. They're like, Denise, you got to do it again. So I will do it again at some point. But storytelling over cocktails. And the reason I did that is because, and I write about it, I talk to my clients about it. You have to have a story, but you also have to know how to tell that story. It's one thing to have a story, but you got to know how to tell it. And drama is one of the acronyms that I use to talk to whether you're a business, have your own business, or whether you work for someone else. So drama. The first thing is to be distinctive, the story itself, but also the way you tell it. So when I say drama, I don't mean the bad drama. Gosh knows we've had enough of that over the years. I'm talking about the good drama. Bring on the good drama. Be distinctive. Make sure your story is distinct. And you do that by tapping into your why. My why is that I was a terribly shy introvert as a kid. And because of that, I now have a company that is focused on helping individuals and organizations stand out, step up and break through. Stand out, step up and break through. That's my brand promise. That's my brand commitment. So what is distinctive about your story, and how are you going to tell that story? Then there's the R, reflective. Make sure it's reflective. People are drawn into someone who they can feel, who they can be part of. When you sit back and you reflect about your story, like when I do it, I share with you about my childhood, and I reflect on that and how did that impact my future. And it did a lot. It did a lot. So reflect. So make sure that story has that too. The D and the R. The A, animated. So if I were to sit here right now, Ande, and talk, and I would just first of all, I talk way too much with my hands. I'm just a hand talker, but it's who I am. Let's say I'm sitting here on my hands and I have like no inflection in my voice, and I'm just kind of, your folks would be like, bleh. But so have some animation, bring people in. People are engage with you when you are engaging. And so it's all about animation, because there is a certain drama that goes into storytelling. It's why we go to movies. It's why we practice just certain genres of movies, why we like certain actors. So animation. The M is for make eye contact. Of course, when we're talking virtually like this, I'm looking in the green light. But when you're in person, people also like to feel like you're
love that.
Down. So make sure you're making eye contact with people you're talking to. It can be uncomfortable depending on how shy or introverted you are. But when that person smiles or they have a certain reaction to what you're saying, it just makes you feel like you could just talk for an hour. And so making eye contact, connecting with that person, is critical. And then affable. People like personality. They want you to be personable. They just want you to have something about you that they can connect with, that they can enjoy watching. So that is drama. And there are other things. The last thing I'll say about storytelling is the REM. So I mentioned the drama, but also there's REM. What makes a story important, or what makes your story important enough that it's going to be memorable and resonate with your audience, is the REM, RIM. One of those three qualities. Either it's relatable. So my story is relatable. Being a shy introvert, most people can relate to that. That's my story.
Either as an observer or as being the person, for sure.
Exactly. So your story is going to help you achieve your goals and advance your career, your business, if it's one, relatable, and inspirational. The I, inspirational. Can the person listening to your story, are they inspired by your story? Or motivational? Are they motivated? The inspirational will be, maybe they're not going to actually do it, but they're inspired to hear what you're talking about. Motivational is, maybe somebody's like, you know what? I've always wanted to do that. Maybe I'll try it. In listening to your story, I'm motivated to do it. So when you're telling your story, when you're creating your story, when you're crafting and then sharing your story, have one or two or all three of those qualities: relatable, inspirational, or motivational.
And here's the scoop, founders, especially those who are trying to do several things: raise money, attract talent, get great mentors on board. This is, the RIM and drama are going to help you significantly, because remember the Maya Angelou quote: people don't remember what you did, what you said, but they sure as heck remember how you made them feel.
Yep.
And so I think bottom line, everything that you've just said, Denise, is about that intangible connection.
It is, and it is about, and I use that quote as well, which I love, Andy. And I'm glad you said that when I talk to clients and I do different events, because it is about how you feel. Think about I mentioned going to a movie. When you go to the movie, think about the stories that they're telling. If it's like, my favorite genre is horror. I know it sounds weird, but I love horror movies. But I love horror movies because of how they make me feel. I scream, or I'm like doing this. I'm like, I don't want to see it, but I really do want to see it because I want to get scared. Or drama, I'm crying, or thriller, like, I mean, I love it because I love how those stories make me feel. So think about the story that you're telling, as you mentioned, Andy, whether it's in front of a donor, in front of a potential client, in front of someone you want to hire. Think about the story and relating your story in a way that's going to pull out a certain emotion, whatever that emotion is. Also, make sure you have your CTA, your call to action. What do you want your story to compel your audience to do? A lot of people leave that out. That is so important. Making sure that you have your CTA. What do you want your story to compel your audience to do?
That's right. We started the whole conversation off today with, does it have the power to engage the mind, body, and soul? Does it inspire us to want to learn more, join the conversation, be part of the movement? Does it compel us to buy a product, retain a service, or join the business? I love that something fierce, Denise. Let me just say hi to a few folks here. Now, do you know Widleen here in Boston area? She's the founder of Fusion Dolls. These are beautiful multi-type brown skin dolls, brown to black, all different, and different hair and everything. Representation matters, especially for dolls. And her story is amazing, and how and why she created this incredible line of beautiful, beautiful dolls. Thank you for tuning in. And I agree, she's dropping gems big time, Denise is. And hello, Diane Nasham. Now, see, Diane has a business that's all about storytelling. It's called PhotoPad for Business, and it's to help the small business tell their story efficiently, effectively, and compellingly, that's a word, through digital. Okay, so Diane, here we go. PhotoPad, we help small businesses amplify visibility on social media. And I'll bring that back up here. So folks, be sure to visit PhotoPad and follow Diane. When I can't even type Diane into my phone without Goddess coming up first with Diane, Goddess Diane Nasham, connect with her everywhere. And that's right, Diane, that storytelling is so important, but also understanding how to unfold it in a way. And Lamai, yay, me too. There we go. That's great. It's this kind of connection, whether it's in a quick comment right here, or wherever you be as a founder. You need to have these stories, these call to actions, these ways of getting people to compel. It is your responsibility to your business to do that, and sharing the brand story. And I love that too, Denise, that you really got people to understand that the brand is that call, that connection, that position. When I got my MBA, it was all about positioning, packaging, pricing, right? The 4 Ps. It's the same thing with a brand, and how you as the founder and you as your business owner put that out. Oh my gosh. Now, do you have a win and a, I don't want to call it fail, even though we founders love fail, because fail helps you go,
absolutely,
going down the wrong path there.
Absolutely.
Do you have an example or two that you could give us of what works and what doesn't?
Well, I will. One of my recent, digital marketing is so critical when you're a business owner. You have it, it's that necessary evil. And I will so when I started my company, because I had such a great Rolodex, because I had been in corporate for 25 years, I didn't really need to market. I didn't need digital marketing. But in this new world. Absolutely. So I realized I'm reading and I'm listening, and they're saying words and tools that I knew nothing about. Oh, I knew about them, maybe, but I certainly wasn't using them. So I thought, you know what, I need to take a class, and I need to learn these new tools and
You had to up your founder game, Denise.
because if I'm going to, and this is what exactly, this is what all business owners, staying on top of the trends and the tools and the information that's going to help us be better service providers to our clients. And so I am not beyond saying, you know what, I don't know enough about this. I need to learn about this. I'm not beneath that, knowing that I need to up my game and learn. That's what I did. So I took 2 digital marketing classes. I just graduated actually from one last week, and I will say I'm so proud of myself. I got the Big Hack Award, Digital Marketing Award. Yay! I was so excited because it was intense. And those of you who've gone to school at an age,
at a certain age,
which I am, to go back to school, like, oh my gosh, but I did it, and the homework was intense. But I did it, and I got the award, which is the highest award they offer.
Oh, Denise, you're still rocking it. I love that because you get shit done, Denise. So you were after that award.
Exactly, because I was so into it. Because failure. I needed to learn. I didn't know enough about digital marketing. Now I know it. I could do it. I'm doing it a lot. But I would tell you, one thing happened to me about 2 weeks ago. So we talk about digital marketing, and this is what small business owners should be doing, which is connecting. And I just dropped something today and yesterday. Okay, let me back up. The one thing I learned in my digital marketing class is you have to be online all the time. Like, how can I possibly be online all the time? But it's a necessary evil. So I created the Thrive Toolkit. So Thrive Toolkit, I created. It's on Instagram and Twitter every day. Well, Monday through Friday. I'm live on Instagram once a week. Every Wednesday, I'm live on Instagram. I would tell you, 2 weeks ago, I did my first. I've done a ton of Facebook Lives. I know Facebook Lives like I know my back of my hand. Instagram Live, I'd never done before. So one of the reasons I won the BizHack Award, there are 6 criteria. One of them is that you fail gloriously. And I shared the story with BizHack, my fellow students in class. When it happened, I said, oh gosh, I just finished my first Instagram Live, and it was a near disaster. I did not know. I have my phone. I did not know how to flip the camera view. I tested it, but the screen changed from the time I was holding it before I went live until the moment I went live.
We've all seen that. It's so perfect.
It moved somewhere else on the screen. So literally, I'm like, hey guys, I have no idea how to show you what I want to show you. So let me just turn the camera around manually. I'm looking over. Oh my gosh.
Everybody, you can relate, right? Give me a high five, a fist bump in the comment section.
And then I didn't know how to get out of it. I didn't know where the end button was. So I'm literally with my face on Instagram Live. I'm like, I don't know how to turn this off. How do I get out of it? And I finally just turned off my phone. I called my daughter who was on, and I called my daughter. She lives in Austin, Texas. I'm like, how bad was it? How bad was it? She goes, it wasn't that bad. I'm like, how bad? Oh my gosh. She started laughing with mommy. You told everyone it was your first time doing it. So that's right. I failed gloriously because, we all make mistakes. You got to laugh at them. So I was laughing.
That's right. And Whitleen, she understands. She goes live on Facebook, on Instagram, and everywhere she glows, and she understands, as does Diane. So Whitleen also says, congratulations on your digital marketing success, winning the award. Thank you for that, Whitleen. And Sat, so good to see you. Now, Sat has an incredible technology called Maya. And Maya takes care of pesky details, admin details for you. I don't think she can do the digital marketing, though. Right, Sat? I think we still have to sort of manage with that, but she's here to help founders, and she's amazing. And it's the future, right out of the Jetsons from our day, and someone to help. But great to see you too, Sat. And I know great things are happening for you and Maya. Oh my gosh, we've got to talk. So, you have had to, figure out some things so that you can bring your clients further along in how they manage their brand, their brand everywhere they go. So I love that, Denise. And as a founder, there are times, you've been at this now for 6 years.
Yeah, almost 6 years. Yeah. Wow.
So incredible. Um, first time founders, they tend to think they're the only ones suffering as a founder, right? They're the ones, they're going, oh my gosh, it's me. No, it's not. It's the journey. It's the best personal development program out there, folks. So Denise, how have you, when you started to feel like, oh my gosh, I am failing, or something's keeping you awake at night or making you feel anxious, how did you shift your mindset that other founders could learn?
Well, I don't know if I've completely shifted that mindset. I mean, I am, and this is great because I I wish I had a broader network of first time founders because I don't. And so a lot of first of all, my biz hack class, my digital marketing class was fantastic because it was all founders of companies. And so we
Yay.
have a permanent connection. We're on WhatsApp. We're still, even though we graduated last week, we're still WhatsApping together and sharing stories. I think that's going to always be something that we're going to need. Even though I was in corporate and I had enjoyed corporate life for 25 years and now a company founder for 6, I am still in need of that support system and where I can, one, help people and also lean in when I need, that shoulder. Because the last few, as we all know, the last year was hell. And
So
and I remember,
challenging.
I mean, I lost 95% of my revenue was in person
Yeah.
workshops or being on site at a nonprofit or small business where I would be embedded as a staff member and
Mm-hmm.
coming into the office 2 or 3 days a week. That is gone. Like with an instant,
You had to reinvent yourself.
I had to rebrand myself.
Yep.
That's what I'm in the process now that I've got this digital marketing. Now all the work and doing it myself for my
So
business.
Denise, you wrote a really cool book, okay, called $40 in a Brand. When did you write this and what compelled you to write this? Because I see, you've got that wonderful poster behind you in your back room there, in your background, how to overcome challenges, defy the odds, and live your awesomeness. $40 and a brand.
Yes, and it's at Amazon and Barnes and Noble. Thank you. I wrote that book during a time. It was in between. So after my job was eliminated, while I was building this company, my husband and I decided to get a divorce. So I had all of these life crises at the same time. And I said, I'm writing this book because it was just a great process for me to go through with everything that I've been through in my life. And $40 in a Brand, there's a great story why I named the title, why I titled the book $40 in a Brand. That's on the back of the book. And it goes back to my childhood and something that happened in a good way to me as a child that sort of put me on my path. But it's an interactive book. There are exercises to build your brand, how to write an elevator pitch, how to discover your why. There's a SWOT exercise. I love that I wrote that book. Yeah.
Excellent. So that can really help those of us who, are still a lot of times we're doing the DIY to GSD.
And great. The QR code will take you to the.
Oh, here, let me get rid of the banner. Hold on. Here we go, everybody. Now you can scan.
So the QR code will take you to the website. And these are just a few of the great reviews on Amazon for the book, which I was just so happy.
Oh, congratulations. I mean, thank you for sharing your wisdom in a way that we can pick it up and bring it down to, what we're doing. Sometimes, it's just great to have it there handy, read a chapter that resonates with you and go, oh yeah. Because you hear Simon Sinek talk all the time. People always talk about, you got to know your why.
Why?
Sometimes that why isn't so tangible. Go ahead.
That I want to just offer to your audience. So I do, and I know these are first time founders. I don't know if you have kids, young or millennial kids like I do. I have 2, but I do have, and do you have the?
Yes, I do. This is such a cool, check this out. Parents.
So Millennial Launch Pad. So I'm offering to this audience, if you have a millennial kid, I'm offering this program for free for the first session, because all the research shows that millennials have been the hardest hit by the pandemic, the hardest. I had a millennial kid who was impacted. And so I'm offering this program for free. It's normally $997, but it's limited number of people. But if you want to take advantage of this, what's unique about it is a parent and a millennial working together with me, with live coaching from me. And that is a QR code to register for the program. But it is limited.
I have not seen anything like this, Denise. This is really powerful because, as we evolve from being parents into friends with our children, this is what a way to, tap into the wisdom and put it in a way so it's not like you're sitting around the dining room table glaring at each other.
Yeah.
You're able to honor each other's journey, and a third person, you, helps bring everybody together so that they can do and take these important steps to understand, what is this career path and how can you be prepared? Like that wonderful person out of the blue said, don't forget to write your next chapter,
Exactly.
Life is.
And my daughter and I created the program together during her impact, I guess, after her impact. And the other one you have, so we talk about CTA, and I know we're almost done. So I want to make sure. So this is my call. This is my call to action. Everyone, storytelling, call to action. So any of you who want to connect with me, and I would love that. Each of these QR codes takes you to these various socials, my socials. Instagram is, you can catch me live. Hopefully I won't have any more fails.
Live and thrive.
You know what? Maybe I will. I'll laugh my way through it. Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn. And of course, this is my website. And I do offer free complimentary 15-minute sessions, career coaching, career assessment sessions. And this will take you to my Calendly.
And folks, really, I'll put these links into the show notes as well, so you can click on them there. But also remember, somebody. And here at the Startup Life Live community, we love to open doors and add wind to other founders' sails and, help them get traction. But also, I know someone who is in a career transition who could use advice, because a lot went down over the last 12 months and people have reevaluated who they be, where they live. I mean, the virtual employee has created more options for people on where they want to spend their time instead of maybe expensive downtown Manhattan or Boston or San Francisco. Maybe there's someplace else. You need someone like Denise to help you make that transition in a meaningful way for you, and mapping it out versus just, rolling the dice. That will create a lot of pain. Yes, I agree with Lynn. You're such a beautiful soul, Denise. I want to get your book. That's right. It will really, really help you with everything that you've got going on. So thank you for that wonderful comment. Denise, I say always about an hour here, but the Startup Life Live, we're live. We go on, but there's no time constraints like TV journalism where you've got 2 seconds to get to the next segment. Okay. But I would love to have you share too with some folks some last thoughts, especially around how this journey has helped you both professionally and personally, and how you now are in the world.
Jumping out on my own after so much time in corporate has given me a level of confidence that people assumed I had when I was in corporate. What's different is when you're in corporate, you have that brand in front of you. You have that safety net. Reebok, Adidas, Nintendo, Boston Scientific. That was a safety net. Then it's almost like the clothes were ripped off of me when I went out on my own. So now I have to understand who I am and have a level of confidence about who I am and what I could be to other people that I didn't have and didn't frankly need to have. So I didn't really develop it. So as you guys know, when you're on your own, it's you. It's you. You don't have that safety net. You don't have that wagon or whatever it is. It's all about you. So how you develop that confidence, how you come into your own, your branding is so important. And I am so thrilled to be on this journey and having to develop confidence that I didn't have before. And this has forced me to do that. So that's the gift that being an entrepreneur has given to me. I'm not riding on the coattail. Not that there's anything wrong with it. I'm not riding on the coattail of a major company. Again, not that there's anything wrong with it, but now it's about me and it's about people connecting to me and returning my calls because it's Denise Kaigler calling, not Denise Kaigler from Reebok or Denise Kaigler from Adidas or whatever. It's that I'm offering something that is of value to you, and that means the world to me. It means
Oh, so fulfilling. Yes.
very
Oh, that's
fulfilling.
great, great,
Even
great,
not
great.
emotional, even thinking, even talking about it, because it's something that had I not had that rug pulled out from under me at Boston Scientific, I don't know whether I would have really come into my own, and that would have been such a shame. Such a
I know. Oh my gosh. Everybody, you are a shining light out there. Denise is showing that. And the spotlight really gets put on you when you're a founder. So all of your stuff will come up to the surface to be healed or maybe bookmarked for later healing and addressing. But that confidence is so important. Oh, thank you, Lamai. Thank you so much. And Diane, you've been stepping into your goddess authority and your founder authority over the years. And from, that first time speaking to how seasoned you are now and helping other founders with their journey. It's, on your own, and it's owning it when you're on your own. And it's not like those lack of confidence actually disappears, everybody. It's just the things that might have triggered it, don't happen anymore, or it's a quieter voice because you've diluted it by stepping up and going, oh, no, I can do this. Right. And so Denise, so much valuable information. We're going to continue to grow and learn from you because we're all going to be following you everywhere you glow and hearing your Thrive tools. And I can't wait to, get more from you now that you've become a digital marketing goddess and have taken that and go, okay, now that I get this and I got the award, everybody, I can now take it to another level.
Yeah. It's a lot of work though, but it's a lot of fun. I love it.
It's a lot of work, and it's why we like to use scheduling apps like Agora Pulse or Buffer, Hootsuite, whatever you can do.
Hootsuite, yes.
Yes, and why we bring people in to help us with that, because it can be a time sucker. I know I have to set the timer when I hop on over to Pinterest. And if you want to learn about Pinterest, have I got the video for you? Everybody remember when we had the Pinterest marketing goddess on a few weeks ago? That is a powerful platform, Denise. But let me tell you, having been on digital marketing all these years, every time they come up with another platform to learn, I'm like, really? Yeah. It's not easy. Everybody, choose your three-legged stool where you want to be hanging out. I'll have all of Denise's contact information in the notes. Thank you so much for joining me. And I will find you when this pandemic is where it's safe to go out. I'm coming down to see you, and we're going out for coffee or drinks or whatever.
Storytelling over live cocktails.
Yes. Storytelling over live cocktails.
Do that. Oh my gosh, who's in? Oh my gosh, we should actually do that. Storytelling over live.
Are you kidding? We've got a big crowd here in Boston. They would love that opportunity. Great. Oh, I'm glad you caught the Pinterest. Yay, Widleen. It's so good. All right, everybody. What is Denise's Instagram? You want to see that one more time? Let me just pull that baby right back up here. Please. It's the MDK _brand _management, Diane.
If you have an iPhone, just put your iPhone up on that.
Well, some people are watching with the iPhone, so that might be a little challenging. I haven't figured out how QR codes.
Oh, I got you. Yeah.
Work that way. But thank you for that. And Diane, I'll see you back in the green room. I'm just going to say some closing remarks to everybody. But thanks so much for joining me and sharing your brilliance, especially around the crafting the compelling story, because we all need it to bring our businesses forward. We really do. And to create that profitable and sustainable entity. Gosh, that was a great learning session. I am telling you, I can't wait to follow Denise everywhere she glows. Thank you as always, for carving out time and tuning in. And if you're still here and you're watching from YouTube, I'd love to get that subscribe button from you, or from wherever you're watching this archive video. If you could hit the like button, that helps us reach more people, more first-time founders who would love to learn from Denise today for their business. But let me share with you who's coming up next. We've always got coming up next at the Startup Life live show, because I air twice a week live. And this Friday, March 19th at 1 p.m. EST, FemCity founder Violette Deaye will be joining us to share her startup stories and insights for building a community-focused platform for both online and in-person engagement. She is a Cuban-American serial and social entrepreneur, and she's built this amazing global membership-only platform, folks. Okay, I mean, this isn't just a networking Facebook group. This is a platform that has membership only and really serves female founders. And she's in over 100 local locations around the world. And boy, does she have a great story on how she has built this, and great advice for anybody who's building a platform where you want people to connect and stay connected and pay. Okay. There's nothing wrong with subscription models, right? And so to stay and receive alerts whenever I go live, please join my meetup group right here. There's the QR code. There's the link. And that way you'll be notified every time I post a new show. Lots of good ones coming up in March. April is almost fully booked with amazing founders. So I can't wait for you to learn and grow with me as we learn from these other founders. So until next time, I always love to help you remember, help myself remember this wonderful quote from A.A. Milne. You're braver than you believe. You're stronger than you seem. And yeah, you're smarter than you think. And that's not just Winnie the Pooh saying that. You got to say it to yourself at all times as part of that confidence building. I believe in you. Thank you for joining me on this journey today. Mwah. Until next time, stay well.